I'm dead. I'm so dead. The words slipped out as my eyes slowly opened. My heart pounded violently in my chest. The last thing I remembered was the blinding headlights of a car and the deafening crash that followed. My head felt heavy, like it might split open at any moment. Hey. The voice was calm, deep, close. I blinked rapidly, trying to steady my sight, and a face slowly came into focus. Debbie, you know me? My voice came out hoarse, fear freezing my limbs. A warm hand brushed across my face, steadying me. Easy, he said gently. You're okay. I stopped before I hit you. I blinked again, my surroundings spinning into place. The street, his car, people walking by. Then everything came rushing back at once. Anthonio's rejection, the humiliation, the tears. A sharp ache pierced through my chest. I bit my lip to stop it from breaking out as a sob. Are you okay? The man asked softly. I shook my head weakly, still dazed. Come on, he said, guiding me toward his car. Let me get you home. He opened the door, helping me inside with quiet care before circling around to the driver's seat. He gave me a kind smile, the kind that seemed to melt through panic. I'll need your address, he said gently. Oh, I murmured, still trying to process everything. He handed me his phone and I typed in my address with trembling fingers, passing it back to him. He collected it, then started the car. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city rush past in a blur. Kiss from a Rose by Seal began to play softly from the stereo. My heart skipped. That's my favorite childhood song, I said quietly. I know, he replied with a small smile. I turned toward him, my brows furrowed. Wait, how? He chuckled. Everyone loved that song back in junior high school. I laughed lightly, relaxing a little. Seal really made our childhood sweet, he nodded. Sometimes I wish I could turn back the hands of time, I said, staring at my fingers. He smiled kindly, glancing between me and the road. You know what I tell myself these days? What? I asked, glancing at him. To enjoy the moments I have left. His tone dropped, thoughtful. My brows pulled together. Gosh, are you dying soon? I asked, suddenly feeling sorry for the kind stranger. He burst into laughter, shaking his head. No, but life's short, you know. Yeah, I said with a small laugh of relief. We both laughed, and I relaxed back into the seat, gazing out the window. The music filled the air, soft and dreamy, as the city blurred beneath my eyes. All right, Debbie, we're at your place, he said. That was quick, I replied, turning to face him. I didn't feel the urge to get out just yet. My eyes studied his face, the boyish charm, the gentle smile, the curls falling over his forehead. Debbie, so good to see you, he said, grinning. Wait, you know me? I frowned, suddenly, remembering how he'd called my name earlier. He raised a brow, amused. You really don't remember me? My heart gave a sudden jolt. Oh my God, he shook his head, grinning widely. Meet me at the broken locker room? My breath caught. My hand flew to my chest. Jeremy, he laughed as I reached out to touch his face. It's really you. What happened to your glasses? It's been a decade, he said softly. You look different, grown, and you're still as beautiful as ever, he said, his eyes holding mine. I looked down, smiling shyly. He lifted my chin, his touch gentle. Hey, I missed you, Debbie. I never stopped thinking about you. My chest tightened. I wish I'd fought for us, he said. A laugh escaped me, almost disbelieving. Jeremy, we were 13. I know, he said with a shrug. Come here, I said, opening my arms. He leaned in, and I melted into his hug. His scent hit me instantly, baby powder. He hadn't changed. A sudden bang on the window made us both jerk. What the? I gasped, opening my door. George stood outside, his fists clenched, eyes blazing. Are you insane? I shouted, strutting toward him. He froze, taking in my outfit, his face twisting. Is this how you go out now? I groaned, crossing my arms. What is your problem? What's going on here? Jeremy barked, stepping out of his car. You! George snapped, pointing at Jeremy. George, you... Jeremy started. What are you doing with him, Debbie? He's my husband, I muttered bitterly. Jeremy blinked. What? How? Mad that I got what you couldn't get? George mocked. Debbie, why? Jeremy asked, turning to me. Get off my property, man, George yelled. I'm talking to her, not you. Jeremy shot back, irritated. George's face hardened as his gaze bounced between us. Wait, are you cheating on me? With him? Disgust flooded me. You're crazy. Jeremy, thank you. Please go home. I turned to him with a smile. Call me, Jeremy said, handing me his card. I reached for it. George grabbed him by the collar. I said get out. Jeremy shoved him back, his tone sharp. Don't ever try that again. George smirked, then charged, swinging a punch at him, but Jeremy dodged, and George's fist slammed against the car roof. He screamed in pain, clutching his hand. Jeremy, just go, I shouted. He's a maniac. Jeremy's jaw tightened. Debbie, are you safe here? Yes, I said firmly. Go, please. He hesitated, eyes locked on mine, then climbed into his car. As George lunged again, Jeremy sped off, tires screeching. I turned my back on George and started toward the house, ignoring him as he screamed my name. Suddenly, a rough grip caught my wrist. I spun around. His eyes were bloodshot, jaw clenched. Don't you dare, George, I warned through my teeth. Don't you fucking dare. I yanked my hand free and walked away, my heart pounding, fury burning hotter than fear. Bastard, I muttered as I slammed the gates behind me. I didn't bother looking back. I heard the sound of the gate opening and closing, knowing that he had left the house. But I wasn't bothered anymore.
I immediately ran to a lounge to meet my brother. I don't know what to do. The whiskey scorched my throat, but it wasn't enough to drown out the sound of Deborah's voice calling me exactly what I was. I hissed, tightening my grip on the bottle until my knuckles ached. The glare she gave me earlier, it was deadly. I knew I had to do something before I lose my wife. Chill, George. My brother Vincent laughed. There's nothing funny right now, I snapped, glaring at him through the haze of alcohol and regret. We can figure this out, so relax, Vincent said, leaning back like the world wasn't caving in on me. I shook my head hard. You don't get it. She doesn't even want to listen to me. And the worst part? I clenched my jaw, anger and disbelief twisting in my gut. Jennifer keeps coming around. She's like a fucking leech. What? Vincent straightened instantly, his laughter dying in his throat. Jennifer? George, you let Jennifer into your home? Bro, you're playing with fire. I dragged a hand through my hair, tugging at it as the music around us pounded louder, bodies grinding on the dance floor. Everyone else seemed drunk on joy, but I was drowning in chaos. My heart hammered painfully in my chest. Fear and guilt ate at me until I could barely breathe. Do you think you can help me talk to her? I asked desperately. Vincent's head jerked toward me so fast I thought he'd snap his neck. Your wife never looked my way, man. How do you expect her to listen to me? And after everything that happened between me and Jennifer, she probably hates me. I stared at him. Jennifer's words echoing in my head. Don't act like your brother. Go to work. Oh, shit. My chest tightened. I pressed both hands to my head, trying to silence the noise, the thoughts. I grabbed my glass and downed the rest of my drink, the bitterness stinging my throat. You okay? Vincent asked. I'm not, I growled through clenched teeth. Fuck, I'm not okay. My life's about to crumble and you're asking if I'm okay? I roared, slamming my hand against the table. Heads turned from the bar, their eyes lingering on me. Vincent scratched the back of his neck, looking unsure. I love that girl, I said, my throat burning. I did. How the hell did we get here? He shrugged helplessly. I stared at him harder, anger rising like heat in my veins. Meeting up with him is just useless. I knew my answers already. I just didn't want to face them. I didn't want to end up like him. Pathetic, beaten, stripped of everything. He gave Jennifer too much power. And when she was done using him, she tossed him out without blinking. Now he was nothing. And me? I ruined mine because I was terrified of becoming him. I controlled Deborah out of fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of her realizing she deserved better. My jaw tightened as rage boiled up inside me. What? Vincent said, his brows furrowed. You look like you could kill me. I didn't do anything. He was right. He hadn't told me to become this, but watching him fall taught me how to destroy everything I loved. I exhaled sharply, slamming the bottle down on the counter. I'm going home to fix my marriage, I said, standing abruptly. Vincent nodded, clapping me on the shoulder. Don't give up, okay? I got you. I scoffed. Got me? With what? I muttered bitterly, hissing under my breath as I turned away. George! Suddenly I heard my name. I stopped, looking up to see Rita approaching. She looked out of place in the dim club lights, tight, meaty dress, with high slit and makeup too heavy for her usual style. "What?" I barked, my patience gone. She froze, blinking rapidly. Did I do something wrong? Her voice trembled with confusion and hurt. The music inside blared in my ears. I grabbed her arm and dragged her outside to the parking lot. The night air was thick, hot, and suffocating instead of relieving. "I told you to go apologize to my wife," I spat, every word laced with venom. "And you ruined it." "George, I did. I apologized," she said quickly, her eyes pleading. "She told me to go fuck you, that she wasn't interested." "And you came here to do that?" I barked, glaring so hard she flinched. "I thought we were something," she said softly. I raised a hand sharply, stopping her. "You sound stupid, Rita. You, with your doctorate degree, sound dumb." Her mouth fell open in shock. I rolled my eyes, shaking my head. "It's strictly business from now on." Turning on my heel, I walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless, her mouth still parted, her eyes dimming under the streetlight. Her silence followed me into the dark, a reminder that every choice I had made has come back to burn me. I'm going home to fix my marriage. I made up my mind.
I stood by the window, watching her dry her hair, light catching in every strand. George was out there at the lounge, losing his mind. I had seen him when I delivered a job to a client. I knew I had to see her, and so I did the craziest thing my mind could think of. I came to her house and I was in her matrimonial room. My chest ached, not from desire alone, but from the pull I couldn't fight anymore. She wasn't just a temptation I didn't know how to resist. She was my life too, because I haven't breathed since she left. My breath hitched as the words slipped out softly, almost a whisper. "I could watch you do this all day." The hairdryer slipped from her hand, clattering against the tiled floor. Her body in the silky emerald robe stiffened. Then she saw me in the mirror's reflection. I stood there, inside her home. For a second, the look in her eyes was pure disbelief, as if I were a ghost. "Jesus Christ," she said breathlessly. She stumbled back, knocking into the dresser. The mirror rattled violently. Her voice strained between fury and shock. "How the hell did you get in here?" she demanded. I walked silently, closing the distance in 3 long strides. Before she could process, I wrapped my arms around her, lifting her off the ground. In seconds, her body was pressed against mine. "Anthonio!" she cried out, her hands shoving against my chest in a weak protest. The rush of feeling told me everything I needed to know. This woman was my ruin. I bent my head and brushed a kiss across her cheek. A strangled "oh" escaped her lips, a small, desperate sound of longing. "Shit! No! I'm angry at you," she gasped, breathless, trembling against me, and my lips grazed the sensitive skin near her ear. "Me too, baby," I murmured, the anger in my chest twisting into something darker, possessive. "I'm angry at myself." And I meant it. Angry for wanting her this way, and angry that she belonged to someone else. "How did you get in here?" she asked again. I didn't answer. I carried her, my movements deliberate, and gently laid her on the bed. Rising immediately, I removed my shirt, flinging it across the room. I bent down, pressing my lips to hers. My hands moved quickly over her shoulders, pulling her closer. "Anthonio! Deborah!" We called each other's names. I pulled back just enough to whisper into her ear. "Relax," I said, my voice low. Her body immediately leaned into mine. She trembled, and I traced gentle patterns on her arms, sensing the tension and fire in her. "Has he ever held you like this?" "Tell me," I asked, my gaze searching hers. "Who?" she asked, voice shaky. "Your husband? Deborah?" "Arrgh. Anthonio," she exclaimed, overwhelmed by everything. "This is my space now," I murmured, keeping my voice steady. "Be with me here." Her legs trembled, her breathing rapid. I slowed my movements, holding her gently, keeping my eyes locked with hers. "You want me to stop?" I asked. "No, no, no," she growled softly, her voice unrecognizable, filled with emotion. I leaned close, my lips tracing a gentle path along her cheek and neck. "Just breathe," I whispered. Her body quivered, trembling with the intensity of the moment. I withdrew my hand slightly, letting her catch her breath. Then, the world outside our bubble intruded. Deborah! I heard her name, distant yet sharp. She rose immediately, panic flashing in her eyes. "My husband," she said, voice tense. The sound of him arriving sliced through us, but a possessive feeling surged inside me. "Babe! Deborah!" The heavy thud on the staircase announced his arrival. "Anthonio! He's coming!" she said, gently pushing me away. I gave her one last firm kiss on the cheek, lifted my head, and launched myself out of the window. "Damn you, George!" I heard her loud cry.
Deborah! George gasped as he stepped into the room, his eyes wide, jaw slack as he took in the scene before him. I lay there, my skin flushed, my robe slipping off my shoulders, my hair wild across the pillows. I watched the undeniable tension in his trousers as his body betrayed him. Laughter bubbled inside me. So George could still react to me. "What are you doing, babe?" he asked, blinking rapidly, moving toward the bed like a man in a daze. "I'm doing what you stopped doing, taking care of myself." I lifted my hips. A rush of power coursed through me as I realized he was no longer in control. His gaze darkened with hunger and sudden regret. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm here now," he said, fumbling at his shirt buttons, his hands trembling. I shook my head, slow and deliberate. "I don't want you anymore, George." As my fingers traced down my thighs, teasing before brushing between them. A soft gasp escaped me. George ripped off his shirt, eyes fixed on me, disbelief written across his face. "Let me," he pleaded, kneeling. His words made my chest ache, not with desire, but with memory. The countless times I begged, and he turned away. A smirk played on my lips despite the hurt. This was my moment. "You know all those nights you went out to meet her?" I waited, starving, craving your touch, I said, my voice steady, though my chest heaved, my thighs clenched at the painful memory. "Even when you were here, I begged for your attention." I laughed, George. "Your own wife, desperate, but you made it clear. You didn't want me, so I learned to satisfy myself. And guess what? I'm better than you." I slipped a finger inside, a low gasp escaping my lips as thoughts of Antonio flared hot in my mind. "I'm sorry, Deborah. Please," George whispered, his lips brushing my thigh. Irritation flooded through me. I jerked back, striking him as I stood. "Don't touch me!" He fell to the floor, his eyes wide. Then he froze, staring at a corner. His gaze snapped back to me, bewildered. "Was someone here?" He crawled to the spot, picking up Antonio's shirt from the floor. "Damn it, he forgot it. This isn't mine," he said, standing abruptly. "That's my shirt." I replied smoothly, snatching it from him. "Since when do you wear shirts like that?" His eyes flicked around the room. "Why is the window open?" "I needed sunlight," I said, my chest rising and falling. "Why am I even explaining? You get to cheat and lie. Do I get an explanation?" "Deborah, someone was here." "Someone was with you," he accused, his voice tight. "You are mad. Do you see anyone?" He tore through the closets, rushed to the bathroom. "Where is he? Where the hell is he hiding?" "Come out." I laughed softly, enjoying his panic. "Nobody was with you, right?" George emerged from the bathroom breathless, his eyes frantic. "I thought you were looking for him," I sneered, rolling my eyes. He checked the window, then closed it, facing me, his chest heaving. "Deborah, I'm sorry, please." "You are paranoid," I taunted, letting the words sting. "Maybe I am," he admitted, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Please let me be your husband again in every way." He pressed a kiss to my shoulder. My irritation flared hot. "You know, I was close. Until you ruined it," I said. "I'm sorry. Let me make it up to you," he begged, dropping to his knees, lips grazing my lower stomach as he called my name. Disgust washed over me. I grabbed his hair, yanking his head up, leaning close like I wanted to kiss him. Instead, I whispered in his ear, "Go meet Rita." I grabbed Antonio's shirt, then my toy from the drawer, letting him see before I disappeared into the bathroom. his face twisted with shock and horror. I smirked as I locked the door behind me. During the night, I had made up my mind to become me again. Like what Jennifer had said, become that woman again. So this morning, I was dressed as she and returning back to my position at the bank. Deborah. George flinched so hard that his head hit the car window the moment I slid into the passenger seat. Shit, he cursed, rubbing the spot. I'm joining you to work? I said, fighting back a laugh. His brows furrowed, confusion flashing across his face. Since when did you start working, Deborah? I think the real question should be, why did you stop me from working, George? He shut his eyes tight, his jaw twitching as he fought for control. I could almost hear his frustration pulsing in the silence. Wasn't that our agreement? That you'd stay home? But I worked all the while we dated, even in the first years of our marriage. I reminded him, my tone sharp but calm. Well, you don't need to work now. Things have changed for us. I tilted my head slightly, my voice cool and steady. I have decided to start working again, to also add more change to things. His eyes widened. He opened his mouth to speak, then shut it again, pressing his fingers to his temples. His face was red, his composure slipping. But you agreed to this, he said. And I can disagree too, right? I raised an eyebrow, meeting his gaze without flinching. He muttered something under his breath and exhaled sharply. What are you up to, Deborah? What do you mean? I asked, feigning innocence. Stop pretending, he snapped. You've changed overnight. Did Jennifer put you up to this? A low chuckle escaped me. I see. So you preferred me weak, quiet, obedient, the one who swallowed her words while you took over everything? That's not what I'm saying. He reached out to touch me, but one sharp glare from me made him pull back instantly. But you just said it, I replied, my tone flat. Silence settled thickly between us. The only sound was his uneven breathing and the faint hum of the engine. Are you driving to work or not? I asked, irritation creeping in. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what you're up to. Fine. Then I'll take myself to work. I reached for the keys. Deborah, what are you trying to do? He yelled, slamming his palm against the steering wheel. What has gotten into you? He barked. I sat perfectly still, watching him unravel. My lips twitched as I bit back laughter. You're running late, George, and CEOs shouldn't throw tantrums like this. His chest rose and fell rapidly, his anger thick enough to taste. You know what? I can't deal with this, I said, opening the car door. He exhaled in relief, probably thinking I'd changed my mind. But I didn't. I stepped out, every stride deliberate, power rippling through me. The morning breeze brushed against my skin as I reached the gate. I'm not backing down anymore. No one dims my light again, not in the name of love. I am Deborah, and I'm in charge. A screech of tires beside me broke my thoughts. I turned sharply. George's car stopped a few feet away, his jaw tight with frustration. Do you plan on killing me now? I asked, folding my arms. Where are you going? To work, of course. Since you clearly want to stay home, I'll handle things. And you plan to walk? His tone was incredulous. There are ride apps, man, I said dryly, rolling my eyes. Get into the car, he ordered. I hissed under my breath and turned away, anger simmering low in my chest. This wasn't how I planned to start my day. I wanted calm control, not rage. I opened the gate, letting the cool air wash over me, and pulled out my phone to request a ride. I was seconds from confirming when strong arms yanked me backward. I said get in the car! George's voice thundered behind me. What the hell? Put me down, George! I screamed, thrashing against him. He carried me easily, ignoring my fists beating against his shoulders, and dropped me into the passenger seat. Before I could recover, he slammed the door and locked it, climbing in beside me. Are you insane? I snapped, breathing hard. If you want to work, then you're going with me. You must be out of your mind. Stop this car. I'm not. What will you do? Jump out? His tone was mocking, daring me to. I turned to glare at him, my lips curving into a thin, dangerous smile. Try me. He stepped harder on the gas. The city blurred by as we sped through traffic, the tension in the car crackling like electricity. He kept sneaking glances at me, his jaw flexing each time. He thought speeding would scare me, then he had no idea what was coming. Finally, we pulled into the parking lot of GD Bank. Our bank. My inheritance. My creation. A bitter taste filled my mouth. I gave him everything once. He took it, wore it like a crown, and forgot who handed it to him. Not anymore. George parked and turned to me, his expression unreadable. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly, attempting to take my hands. I gave him a long, cold look. "Are you crazy?" I said, grabbing my purse. "Leave me alone. I know my way in." I pulled out a brush and ran it through my hair, the calm in my movements driving him mad. He didn't move. I ignored him, applied my gloss, and stepped out of the car. The moment I entered the building, the receptionist gasped. "Good morning," I said, my heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "Good morning, Ma," one of them stammered, eyes wide. Their surprise fed my confidence. I walked straight into George's office and sat down. Moments later, he followed, his face tense, lips pressed into a hard line. "That's my seat," he said through his teeth. "I know," I replied smoothly. "Set up my office and tell the staff we have a meeting in 30 minutes. He stood frozen, staring at me with barely contained rage. I smirked and met his glare with calm amusement. After a long, heavy silence, he turned abruptly and stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The sound echoed through the room. I leaned back in his chair and laughed, softly at first, then freely. I was back to my rightful position. 20 minutes later, I walked into the boardroom. "Hello?" I said. All heads turned the instant I stepped inside, and I held my Chanel bag deliberately, letting the double C catch their eyes. My bright yellow structured gown flowed with every step, hugging my figure with graceful authority, and my hair cascaded over my shoulders. Shock and confusion flickered across their faces. I moved confidently to the seat opposite George at the far end of the table. He had called some handy men to fix my office and set this meeting, just as I had requested. "That's my wife," George began. "They know, or at least most of them," I interrupted sharply, feeling the edges of irritation prickle within me. What exactly was he trying to do? Surprise me? The staff glanced between us, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and caution. Many looked down, as if feeling pity for George. I cleared my throat deliberately, rolling my eyes at him. Their attention snapped back to me, yet most couldn't hold my gaze. "I'm back," I announced, letting the words linger in the charged air. They looked up, including George, tension slicing through the room. I leaned back, scraping my chair against the polished floor, then rose with authority. "I'm Mrs. Deborah McField, George's wife, and partner. Years ago, we ran this company together. I had to resign to tend to family needs, but now I'm back. To continue from where I stopped, but only better." They glanced at George, then back at me, their movements stiff and careful. A flicker of smiles tried to surface, small but hesitant. "I see some new faces, and I'd like to meet you and learn your positions." "Shit," George suddenly cursed. We all turned, startled, to find him staring at the floor. "Is something wrong, Mr. McField?" I asked, tone laced with teasing. The staff froze, sensing the tension crackling between us. George lifted his gaze, his confusion evident. "I'm sorry." I shook my head, turning back to the staff. "Please, let's proceed with the introductions. My name is Miss Grace. I joined 2 years ago as a junior accountant." "Nice to meet you, Grace," I said warmly. "I'm Mr. Bethel, ma'am. I head the customer care team." "All right." I flashed a measured smile, noting that he was visibly relaxed. "I'm Sean. I head the marketing department. I joined just last year." "Great. I'll love to have a meeting with you and Mr. Bethel soon. I'll let you know." George's phone beeped. I raised my eyes to him. "Don't we have a provost or a rule against phone distractions?" A tense silence filled the room. Another notification sounded, then another. Then it kept beeping at a stretch louder this time. "Boss, your phone," someone ventured. "Damn it!" George banged the table, cursing. All eyes snapped to him, and then to me. Was he trying to ruin my moment? "George, you know we are in a meeting. Either you concentrate or leave," I hissed. The tension in the room thickened, suffocating everyone. George's face flushed red as he glared at me, then barked at the staff. "You all, get out!" A loud murmur erupted. The staff exchanged uncertain glances. Hesitation etched into their movements. Are you out of your mind, George? I demanded. No, I should ask you that. He fired back, anger radiating from every word. I think we should leave now, the manager murmured, prompting the staff to scatter. No, everyone, sit. The meeting is not over, I ordered, my voice firm. I said leave. The meeting is over, George barked. Sit. I spat again. Confusion froze the staff in place. Some paused mid-step. Deborah, George stood, pointing at me. Are you having an affair? I froze. Words deserted me. A stunned silence descended, broken only by the scraping of chairs and the shuffle of shoes. Finally, the boardroom door slammed shut. The silence became deafening as George and I exchanged fierce glares. Do you want to see a psychiatrist? I asked, rising. He blinked, bewildered. Don't try to twist things, Deborah. Answer me. I just did. I'm beginning to think you are mentally unfit. Even if I were cheating, why drag our family dirt into the public? Anger simmered beneath my skin. My pulse pounded in my ears. I knew it! So you are cheating! He shouted, bouncing as if he had just discovered clear evidence. I grabbed my bag and strode toward him, my nails digging into his chest with deliberate force. For years you cheated and buried me, but I never spoke or caused a scene. And now, when I begin to reclaim myself, you blow up. I jabbed harder. The next time you do this, it won't be nice. Remember who I am. I turned to leave, and at the door, I added, And what if I'm having an affair? What do you intend to do? I'll find him. I swear. George's scream followed me as walked away. Can you control this fire you are burning? My inner voice whispered as I descended the stairs, almost stumbling. Ma'am, are you okay? A staff member asked, instantly at my side. Yeah, I'm fine, I said, forcing a smile despite the embarrassment, and hurried out into the morning sun, my heart hammering in my chest, and with Antonio's studio in my mind. The only place that made sense to me.
Anthonio. My body immediately reacted in my trousers. It already recognized her voice. I turned with the cigarette between my lips, blowing the smoke slowly into the air. A slow smile curved across my face as I watched her approach through the haze. Her lips were pressed into a tight frown, but her eyes shone, betraying her feelings. I was about to rise when she waved her hand. Don't worry, stay seated, she said, and before I could react, she settled onto my lap. My arms wrapped around her instantly. She rested her head on my shoulder, nuzzling my neck. Is everything okay? I asked calmly. She drew in a deep breath and looked at me. By the way, you look gorgeous, I said, and she smiled. My heart fluttered. Thank God my compliment didn't annoy her this time. I am happy but mad, she admitted. And she took the cigarette from my hand and placed it between her lips. Suddenly, she started coughing, clutching her chest. I immediately rubbed her back, amusement sparking inside me, but I bit my lips to stifle my laughter. You can laugh if you want. I see you, she said, bursting out herself. I soon joined her, and we both laughed until tears stung my eyes. What were you trying to do? I asked, brushing her hair from her face. She shrugged. Whatever. This is what it does to you guys. Get high and forget your problems. She held the cigarette, studying it like a puzzle. Let me show you, I said, collecting the cigarette and placing it between her lips. Like this, you hold it with your lips, drag, then blow out the smoke. I demonstrated, releasing a thin stream of smoke into the air, then placed it back on her lips. Drag, I instructed. She did. Release, I said. She complied, and our smoke mingled in the air, twisting together. Care to tell me what got you mad? I asked, pressing a soft kiss to her shoulder. She took the cigarette back, puffing in deep draws. My hands rested on her waist, caressing her. A warm sense of fulfillment and pleasure bubbled within me. This felt right. I kissed her shoulder again. She turned, offering me a small, shy smile. I don't know where to begin to tell you about me, she said, eyes locking with mine, her fingers brushing my cheek and making me giddy. It's okay. You don't have to say everything today, I reassured her. She nodded. I don't know, she shrugged, drawing from the cigarette again. but I love how you make me feel so alive." She gestured with her hands, her gaze distant. She placed the cigarette on my lips like I had done for her. I inhaled, then returned it. She repeated the gesture, and our gazes locked. Our breaths mingled. The tension we had been ignoring flared between us. I knew she felt it when she suddenly grabbed my face, her lips locking onto mine. I kissed her back with equal intensity, urgency in every movement. Her other arm wrapped around me. Suddenly, a sharp pain seared my neck. "Damn!" I cried out, jerking back. But my hands held her close so she wouldn't fall. "Oh my goodness, Anthonio. It's the cigarette. I'm sorry." She touched the spot. Her eyes went wide with fear and sincerity. Blood coated her fingers. "It's okay," I said, kissing her shoulder to soothe her. "Let me go get the first aid." I eased onto the floor and stepped into another room. And the moment I stepped out, I saw her pacing nervously, eyes darting everywhere. "Let me," she said, rushing to me. "Relax, baby, okay?" I said, flashing a reassuring smile. She returned a small one, took the box from me, and guided me to the chair. She sat me down, opened the box, and carefully began treating my wound. Her focus, her warmth, her beauty, they mesmerized me. "Are you okay?" "I'm done," she said softly, after placing a small plaster on my neck. "Yes, I am," I replied, my voice cracked slightly. I held her waist, my hands grazing her lower back. "I have an art exhibition coming up. I'd like you to go with me," I said. "No, I can't," she answered, slipping from my arm swiftly. "Why?" I asked, standing, my heart tightening at her rejection. "It's public. I can't just walk out in public with you right now. George is everywhere, looking for you." "He can't do anything. I'm here for you," I said. "I know, but I'm just trying to get my life together. I can't mess it up. I have to be careful." "Deborah, you don't have to be afraid of him. You have me." "I'm not," she said immediately, but I caught the subtle shift in her eyes. "Then go out with me." "If you aren't," I pressed, taking her hands in mine. "Anthonio!" A woman's voice called out my name, soft and melodic like a cat mewing. I looked up and saw her. She was dressed in stockings, heels, and a short dress that barely reached her thighs. Deborah turned too, her eyes narrowing as she caught sight of the intruder. Her irritation was visible. "I'll see you later," Deborah said, kissing my cheek. "Babe, I began, but she walked away without looking back. My heart thundered. "What?" I barked, my heart hammering. The woman froze, startled. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, my voice sharp with anger. The woman flinched, confusion flashing in her eyes. "What do you mean, what am I doing here? I thought we had an agreement for a meeting," she replied, tilting her head. I stepped back, my jaw tightening. Anger coiled in my chest, spreading through my limbs. "My birthday portrait." She leaned slightly forward, eyes gleaming. "Oh," I suddenly remembered our conversation. I had left the door open so no knock would interrupt me. Deborah's presence had erased everything from my mind. My gaze dropped to her outfit, and my fury flared hotter than before. Deborah had seen how she dressed, and I didn't even know what thoughts were running through her head. "Remember now?" she asked, moving closer. "Well, the next time you dress appropriately." "What is this?" I pointed at her outfit, disgust pricking my veins. Her eyes widened, her confusion returning. "I thought you liked me coming here like this," she asked, stepping nearer. When I didn't respond, she walked closer. "Have you forgotten how you would usually snap my gown and then pull me closer from behind?" I cursed inwardly. What have I been doing with my life all these years? "Penelope, look, it's Candace," she said, frustration shadowing her features. "Okay, look, we can't work together if you're dressed like this. I need you decent, so go back and change." "What?" she laughed incredulously. "You're joking, right?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "I'm serious. You do what I say, we work. If not, no work." Her jaw dropped. She blinked. "So you refuse to work too? What has she done to you?" Jennifer's mocking voice suddenly cut through the air. "What the hell are you doing here?" I ran my hands through my hair, frustration tightening my chest. Grateful Deborah had left. Otherwise, I didn't know what I'd have done. Candace, or whatever her name was, glanced between us. "Has she charmed you?" Jennifer taunted. "Jennifer, what are you doing here?" I asked again, my voice sharp. "Wow!" A gasp left the other woman's lips. I turned and caught her looking at Deborah's portrait, which I had forgotten to take down. "I want that," she said, pointing at it. My insides flared. "Want what?" "Can you draw me like that?" she asked. Jennifer burst out laughing. "He can't draw you like that, my darling." The woman glanced at both of us. "Because Jennifer pointed at the portrait. "She slept here, but Anthonio won't let you sleep here like that," she said, taunting. "Anthonio," the woman whispered, voice tentative, almost afraid. "What?" I snapped. "Okay, I'm going to leave. I'll come back," she said, walking toward the door. The heavy thud of it shutting behind her echoed in the tense room. I hissed, irritation radiating through me. "Aren't you going to leave too?" I asked, cutting Jennifer off. "You don't tell me when to leave," she said, disdain flashing in her eyes. "Don't make me throw you out," I warned. "Oh, just shut up," she said, rolling her eyes. "Just because you think you are in love, you think you can discard me like that. Are you crazy?" My eyes widened. Who does she think she is? "You're delusional if you think you meant anything to me. Whatever fling we had ended long ago. Go back to where you came from and leave me alone." Irritation boiled through me as I glared at her. "What kind of pest is this?" I continued, muttering under my breath. Her lips curled into a smug mask. She typed something on her phone, her lips pressed tightly. I began pacing, frustration snapping at every nerve. I knew if I laid hands on her, it wouldn't end well. "Well, I actually came to remind you of the art exhibition show," she said calmly, a sudden smile spreading across her face. I blinked, my heart racing at the unexpected shift. "I know about it," I said, folding my arms. "Well, have you thought about making your little wife your +1? She asked, her eyes locked on mine. I watched her carefully. "I could be your +1, you know, because she won't let you take her. Her husband is out for you. And she's still afraid of him," she said mockingly. Deborah's initial rejection sliced through me like a blade. "Jennifer, get out," I said, menace dripping from my voice. She laughed hysterically. Suddenly her phone rang and she glanced down. "Your little wife," she said, flashing her phone at me before answering the call. Tension coiled in my body. I hoped this mad woman wouldn't do anything foolish. "Okay, you would see me now," she said, ending the call. I boiled inside. "Relax. I won't tell her I was here or about the woman I saw too," she teased. "Just leave," I snapped. "Think about me and the exhibition, big cat," she said deliberately. Each step measured as she approached the door. My jaw tightened. I kicked the chair. The heavy stool clattered to the floor. My hands curled into fists. Tension surged through me. Every nerve on fire.
You already did Christmas shopping without me? Jennifer gasped as she slid into the chair opposite mine. I was sitting in an open street cafe near Home Goods, sipping a cup of coffee, her gaze lingering on the full bags of Christmas decor stacked beside me. I had to keep myself busy while I waited. "What took you so long?" I asked, tilting my head. "Work, as usual," she said with a smile. "We can go during the weekend to get yours," I offered, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "What happens during the weekdays? You know I can always make time. I'm the boss," she said, flicking her hair back with a flourish, and we both laughed. "Guess what?" I asked, leaning forward. "You and Anthonio are—" She grinned mischievously. "No, I'm coming back to that," I said, adjusting my blouse and flicking my hair behind my shoulders. "I've resumed work," I added with a triumphant grin. "What?" When? How? Debbie, she stammered, her eyes wide. George almost died when he saw me, I said, grinning as the memory of his shock surfaced. That's what I'm talking about, she squealed. I'm so happy. Debbie, start talking. You owe me a lot. First, where's my coffee? She glared at me. Relax, I ordered for you, I said, chuckling and signaling the waiter. A few minutes later, her coffee arrived. Spill, she ordered, taking an immediate sip. Anthonio rejected me the day I went to his studio dressed wild, I confessed. What? Amusement flashed across her eyes, quickly masked by feigned surprise. I caught that but pushed it aside, knowing Jennifer likes to make fun of everything. Was he blind? She asked, her eyes widening. Apparently. He said that wasn't the me he fell for. I left angrily. Wait, he wants you weak? Or what is that man up to? She flared knowingly. Relax, I smiled, heat pooling in between my legs as I remembered the moment. I adjusted in my seat, hoping she wouldn't notice the tightening of my nipples. He came to my home, and I trailed off, my cheeks warming. What? Jennifer's eyes widened. Don't tell me it's what I'm thinking. It is, I admitted, trying not to blush further. Oh my God, I'm dead! She exclaimed, dramatically leaning back in her chair. Jennifer! I called, noticing the curious glances from nearby customers. How the hell did you get him to come to your house? She pressed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I was surprised too, I admitted, feeling the heat crawl up my spine again. You are wild, she said with a teasing smile. I need wine for this gist. This coffee is too meek. Waiter, she called, and I shook my head, laughing. Man, I wish someone would sneak through my window and sweep me off my feet. You are living my fantasy, Debbie, she said, mock crying, making us both chuckle. As the waiter arrived, she waved him off. Get me the strongest wine, she instructed. Deborah, I heard my name and both of us turned. Jeremy was making his way toward our table, neatly dressed in a sweater and shirt, glasses perched on his nose. Who's that cutie? Jennifer asked, eyeing me curiously. Just some dude from junior high school, I answered with a shrug. Hello, he said softly as he reached our table, a faint blush dusting his cheeks as he smiled at me. Hey, I'm here, Jennifer called, drawing his attention. Oh, sorry. Forgive my manners, he said, smiling awkwardly. I'll think about that, Jennifer teased, rolling her eyes. Jennifer, I admonished, shooting her a look. He isn't blind, or are you? She taunted. Forgive my sister, she's quite blunt, I said to Jeremy, sensing his discomfort. It's fine, I can see that, he replied, giving a small, polite smile. Grab a chair and join us, Jennifer suddenly said. Jeremy glanced at me, unsure, and I offered a reassuring smile. He picked a chair from another table and sat down. So, how do you know Deborah? She doesn't want to tell the full story, she asked, a wide grin spreading across Jeremy's face, like a kid offered candy. She was my first love in junior high school, he said dreamily. Jennifer glanced at me, amusement written across her face. So where have you been all this while that you made her marry an animal? Jennifer, I called. My heart began to race, dreading the direction of the conversation. But she ignored me. Well, he stammered, flustered. Anyway, now that you have returned, she began, flashing a glance at me. I'd like to invite you to an art exhibition, and you can make Deborah your +1. What? My jaw dropped. Jennifer, what is wrong with you? I demanded. I'd love that, Jeremy said immediately. You can't trust Anthonio, or can you? This one seems like a responsible man. She nodded at Jeremy. Who is Anthonio? Jeremy asked. I didn't answer that. Well, Anthonio already asked me, so why don't you go together since you're both single? I said instead, pointing at them. No! They both cried in unison. Deborah, I turned and froze. Rita stood beside George, and another woman tucked under his arm, his hand gripping her waist. The instant he saw me, it felt like he'd touched fire. His face drained, and his eyes widened with horror. Rita's lips curved briefly before she hid the smirk. Heat surged in my chest, disgust rising sharp and bitter. I straightened, forcing composure even as anger burned through me. "Bastard," I cursed under my breath. Jennifer giggled as she followed my gaze. Her laughter came out soft and dangerous. Jeremy turned too, his face hardening the second he saw George strutting toward our table with two women trailing him, Rita and a nervous-looking blonde. "Oh, this should be good," Jennifer murmured, crossing her legs with a smirk. George tried to smile, but his lips trembled. He slowed down but kept walking until he stood right across from our table. "Deborah, it's not what you think, I swear, babe." I smiled sweetly, sipping my coffee. "I wasn't thinking anything," I said lightly, tilting my head. "Just wondering if you've finally moved on to threesomes now." His eyes went wide. Rita's smirk slipped for a second, while the blonde's cheeks burned pink. "Deborah," Jeremy whispered, warning clear in his voice. Jennifer tapped his arm, stopping him, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Let the woman talk." George's jaw flexed. "Babe, it's just work. Strictly business." "Business?" I asked, my voice calm, slicing through his excuse like glass. "And why wasn't I informed?" He stammered. I mimicked him, tilting my head dramatically. Jennifer burst into loud laughter, nearly spilling her wine. Rita glared at me. "You think this is funny? And who are you to talk?" I said simply, meeting her stare until she looked away. George turned on Jennifer, anger boiling. "Why are you always everywhere? Don't you have a life, Jennifer?" She gave him a wicked smile. "Why? Does my presence threaten you? Why do you always need someone to blame?" I asked, watching his face flushed. "Baby, please," George said, his voice trembling. "Let's not do this here." "Why not?" I asked, my tone low and smooth. "People should see what I've been dealing with. Tell me, George, what kind of CEO parades his side pieces around town like trophies?" He swallowed hard, glancing around as eyes began to turn our way. "Deborah, I swear it's strictly business." The clatter of cups and murmurs of strangers filled the air. Even the waiter had paused nearby, pretending to clean a table that was already spotless. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "I'm back at the company, George. From now on, I want access to everything you've done in the past 3 years. Every file, every deal, every missing dollar." He froze, the color draining from his face. "Okay, of course. But not here, baby, please." My tone steel. "Start talking." "Deborah," he whispered, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "People are watching." I smiled. "Then give them a show." Rita fidgeted, her glossy lips twisting in discomfort. "George, maybe we should—" "Shut up," he snapped, and then instantly regretted it as my brows lifted. "Wow," Jennifer said with mock sympathy. "I see respect has completely left the building." That's when George's gaze shifted. His eyes landed on Jeremy, who was sitting silently beside me, watching everything unfold. George's nostrils flared. "And you," he spat. "Why are you always hanging around my wife, huh? Ever since you came back, you've been following her like a lost dog." Jeremy sat up straighter, calm and controlled. "Maybe if you took care of her, you wouldn't need to worry about anyone else doing it." The table went silent for a beat. Even Jennifer froze, her grin widening slowly. George's face drained of color, his jaw twitching. He glanced around, realizing all eyes had turned toward our table. Strangers were staring now, whispers brushing the air like a low buzz. And a few guests exchanged glances, some shaking their heads, others barely concealing smirks. George's hand twitched like he wanted to throw a punch. "You little—" I stood before he could finish, my chair scraping sharply against the floor. "Enough," I said, my voice ringing clear and cold. "George, take your business partners." I gestured at Rita and the blonde. "And leave before I remind you who actually owns half the damn bank you're running into the ground." He blinked, his anger folding into humiliation. "Deborah, I'm done talking," I said, turning to Jeremy. "Take me home." Jennifer bit her lip, trying not to laugh as I walked past her. Jeremy followed, still tense from George's glare. We reached his car, the city's air thick and heavy with noise. He opened the door for me, hesitating. "You shouldn't let him get to you like that," he said softly. I stared straight ahead, my voice steady. "He doesn't get to me anymore," he nodded, slipping behind the wheel. "Then let me distract you. Come to the art exhibition with me tomorrow." I turned my head slowly, meeting his hopeful eyes. For a second, the air between us felt charged. "Shut up and drive, Jeremy," I said, my tone cool. "Yes, ma'am." He smiled faintly, started the car, and we pulled into the night.
I watched everything unfold, a mix of envy and calculation burning in my chest. I had wanted Anthonio for myself for so long, but when I realized he didn't do love, I decided to play my part. Have fun while it lasts. Deborah wasn't supposed to fall in love, and neither was Anthonio. How could a man like him fall for someone like her? She wasn't his type. I know the kind of women he wants. I forced a bright smile, hiding my irritation as I leaned over to grab the drinks. "Maybe this will cheer her up," I said softly. She had been looking around lost since we arrived. "This is so boring," Deborah muttered, her tone flat, lips pressed into a thin line. I forced a bright smile, hiding my irritation. "Here, I got you a drink. Cheer up, come on. It would get interesting soon." I leaned in, kissed her cheek, handing a glass to her, my heels tapping sharply against the marble floor. The exhibition was crowded, men in tailored suits, women draped in silk, laughter and wine flowing in equal measure. My eyes skimmed the crowd and froze. There he was, Anthonio, tall, dark, clad in black that hugged every contour of his shoulders, moving with deliberate, confident steps. My chest thudded. Memories of his studio slammed into me. The smell of oil paint, the warmth of his breath on my neck, the way he said I was greedy while giving me everything he had. Why did I ever introduce him to Deborah? His eyes roamed the crowd, searching, and then they found her. That tiny spark of hunger, the one that had belonged to me, ignited for her, even deeper this time. Jealousy curled hot in my gut as he strode straight to her. He didn't see me. How could he? My thoughts mocked me. He leaned close, whispered, then kissed her hand. Deborah's cheeks flushed. Rage prickled my neck like fire. Damn it. Where was George? Every hint, every clue I gave him, and still he refused to believe me. Before I could greet Anthonio, he turned away, storming off just as George entered the hall. Shit, I muttered under my breath. All shit. My perfect plan was slipping. "Hey, are you okay?" Deborah's voice broke through my head. She was suddenly at my side, eyes soft with concern. "Innocent little lamb," I hissed. "Yeah," I said quickly, forcing a breath. "I'm fine." "You sure? You've been standing there frowning," she said, pulling a strand of my hair back. "No, just remembered something," I lied, smiling sweetly. "Care to share?" she asked, as we walked back toward the displays. "In this crowd? Come on," I teased, brushing her off. She smiled. Naive, poor thing. "By the way," I said casually, watching her over the rim of my glass, "Anthonio looked amazing tonight." "Yeah," she murmured dreamily, lips curving into a small smile. "Why aren't you with him? I thought he was your date." "Well, I'm still careful. Let me finish things with George before I walk with Anthonio in public," she said softly. "That's wise," I replied, smiling without touching my eyes. How was she getting so smart at this game? Heat curled low in my chest. "Hey, babe." George's voice boomed behind us. Deborah turned, startled, then forced a faint smile. "George?" His eyes lit up instantly. Relief spread across his face as he walked toward her, taking her hand and brushing a kiss against her cheek. Surprise flickered in his face when she didn't pull away. I stood frozen, fury bubbling. Well, what game was she playing? Why was she smiling like they were the perfect couple? For the first time, I couldn't read her. You look breathtaking, he said, eyes sweeping possessively over her. Thank you, she replied simply. I watched like an extra in my own show. George stuck his tongue out at me in mockery. I smiled tightly, refusing to show the fire beneath my skin. Is your friend not coming? I asked Deborah, thinking of that rich, clueless boy from high school. I don't know. I thought you both turned each other down, she said. Well, I might need him now, I replied with a small shrug. He's a good man, you know, she said kindly. I laughed under my breath. Good men don't survive in this world, sweetheart. Ladies and gentlemen, Chick's deep voice boomed through the microphone. The chatter faded as the crowd gathered near the stage. Anthonio stood under the spotlight, every inch the artist, composed, magnetic, dangerous. His eyes found Deborah again, that same glint of possession flickering. My chest betrayed me with a small, traitorous sting, but I smirked. Welcome to another Chick night, Chick said smoothly, where art breathes life. Explore, drink, feel, and let the paintings speak. The crowd erupted in soft applause. Deborah turned to me, smiling. Why are we standing here when we should be looking at the paintings? I said brightly. My heart pounded beneath my calm facade. Please, I hope Chick have done what I asked. I paid him handsomely. My plan mustn't fail. I led us down the hallway lined with art. My eyes scanned the walls, pulse thrumming. Then I saw it, the painting at the far end. You two. Come here, I called, voice steady. Oh my God, I love this, Deborah gasped, stopping at a painting of a bird breaking free from its cage. Her voice trembled with awe. Come on, there's something you'll like even more, I said tightly. Hey! A cheerful voice interrupted. We turned to see Jeremy, grinning like a schoolboy with a crush. I've been looking for you both, he said, gaze glued to Deborah. Jennifer, he's here, Deborah said, smiling. Oh yeah, I said, slipping my arm through his. Come with us. I was about to show them something special. You might like it too. Deborah followed. George trailed close, his jaw tight, fists curling, teeth grinding. Good. Let him burn. We stopped before the painting. My chest fluttered with dark satisfaction. The hell? George gasped. My God! Deborah and Jeremy exclaimed in unison, their horror clear in their voices. I thought you'd like this, I said smoothly, tilting my head. She's beautiful. The painting glowed under the gallery lights. Deborah, naked, captured in raw, vulnerable strokes, skin gilded in oil and shadow. The intimacy, the passion. Deborah's hand trembled as she pointed. How did this get here? The question should be, George spat, face red, is how the hell did you get naked in the painting? What? The word cut like a blade. We all turned. Anthonio stood a few feet away, his face carved in fury, his eyes burning holes as he gazed at his painting. He and Deborah locked eyes. The air went still, heavy and electric. Deborah's knees buckled. Jeremy lunged to catch her. Anthonio's jaw clenched, his fists trembling. In a heartbeat, he was gone, storming out. I leaned close to George, voice low, venomous. If I were you, I'd go after him. The crowd was already whispering, and just like that, chaos bloomed.